All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our HR Service Delivery Academy session for the month of July. Our topic for today is learning posts. My name is Allison, and I am joined by several others today: Gokern, Kirthana, Lena, Murthy, Swastik, and Vasan. We are all from our product and engineering teams, and we will be leading today's session and helping answer your questions on the topic of learning posts. In terms of what we'll cover during the session today, we are going to start with an overview of our Learning Posts app with some slides. Then we'll spend a majority of our time live in an instance, walking through some configuration and demo to bring the product to life. And last but not least, we also have time reserved at the end for questions. And just to be clear on how we'll handle questions today, at any time, if you do have a question, please feel free to place it in the Zoom Q&A in written format or on YouTube chat if that's where you're watching from. And we'll be monitoring those in written format throughout. And then again, at the end, we do have time dedicated to discuss some of those live. So without further ado, we will jump into our overview of the Learning Posts app. And where we wanted to start is by talking through licensing, compatibility, and availability. So the Learning Posts app was actually introduced on our ServiceNow Store in May of this year. So that actually makes it one of our newest ServiceNow Store apps that we've released within employee workflows. So we're very excited about it. Learning Posts are compatible with our Quebec family release and beyond. So this means that your instance has to be on Quebec to enable this in your instance. And it's also included in our HR Service Delivery Enterprise package. So what this means is that it's bundled in that package. And if you have the HR Service Delivery Enterprise package, you are entitled to use this app. The next thing I want to go over is what the ServiceNow Store is and how you actually get Learning Posts. So most of you are likely familiar with our large family releases. We name them in alphabetical order after major cities. So we're currently on Quebec, and around the corner is Rome. In addition to our family releases, we have started to push out new applications and enhancements to those applications via our ServiceNow Store. So that's the screenshot that you see on the lower bottom of the slide there. In terms of actually navigating out to the store, we have the URL for accessing store here on the slide. It's just store.servicenow.com. Once you get there, you can actually search for Learning Posts, and you'll land on a page that looks like what you see on the right. So this is our landing page for Learning Posts out on the ServiceNow Store. It gives an overview of the app, and as you can see, there's also a button that you can use to actually get this app in your instance. So now that I've talked through some of the foundational information around compatibility and how to actually get Learning Posts, I want to talk about the why behind the app. So if you look at the visual on the left of this slide, it depicts what the employee experience could look like today at your organization without the Learning Posts app in place. The corporate learning market is exploding. There are countless learning systems in existence. It's also very common for learning to sit across multiple systems and for the responsibility to be with the employee to actually find the right learning at the right time. Conversely, if you look over on the other side of the screen, this is our visual that depicts our current state. So our Learning Posts app is really embedding learning in the flow of work. So we're making things easier for employees by serving them up learning when they need it most directly within a lifecycle event workflow to make it as easy as possible for them to access learning again when they actually do need it. Now what I want to do is also walk through our formal definition of Learning Posts to further bring this to life. So we like to say that Learning Posts embed learning into end-to-end workflows to create omni-channel experiences that empower employees to receive curated learning at the right time of need. So when we say omni-channel, this means that today employees can access learning in our Employee Service Center portal, as well as our Now mobile app, with more channels coming soon as part of our planned roadmap. When we say curated learning, this means that we can curate learning across multiple systems and bring that cohesively together to make it very easy for employees to access that learning. You'll notice that there are a couple of logos here in this bucket. You see the logo for Udemy, Cornerstone, and Pluralsight. And that is because today we actually have delivered integrations with these learning management systems that allow you to bring the course content into ServiceNow so it can be accessed within Learning Posts. The other thing that I would say about integrations is that we have more integrations planned as part of our roadmap. And we also have an existing integrations framework that you can use to actually pull in course content from additional learning systems if your organization uses them. The other thing that you'll notice about this bucket is that we also have our ServiceNow logo here. And that is because you can also create something called internal learning content. And we'll talk a little bit more around what that means in a moment. And last but not least, when we say right time of need, this again goes back to the fact that we are surfacing the learning to employees when they need it most. So what we're looking at here in the screenshot is a visual of a lifecycle event, because this is again being surfaced to employees at that right time of need directly within the lifecycle event workflow that's happening in ServiceNow. Now what I want to do is walk through an example scenario to continue to bring this to life. So we have Karen, who is an employee, and she is returning from leave within the next 2 weeks. And because that leave is approaching, what's happening in ServiceNow is a return from leave lifecycle event is going to be triggered for her. So her leave end date is what's triggering that. And as part of this lifecycle event, there are a lot of activities that are happening across the organization to make sure that this leave transition is smooth for Karen. But what I've done here is I've highlighted just a couple of examples of where we can interject with learning to make this a seamless experience. So the first thing that happens, let's say, is that Karen receives a welcome back email. And after that, she starts to see assigned to-dos, and again, our employee service center and our Now mobile app. And some of those to-dos are actually learning to-dos. So just to give a couple of examples of what those learning to-dos might look like, let's say Karen is actually targeted first with some external learning content around optimizing her work-life balance. So in this example, let's say that content actually exists in her organization's third-party learning management system. Let's say it's Cornerstone. Let's say it's being pulled in for Karen to access as part of this lifecycle event, and she's able to access it again directly within our employee service center and our Now mobile app. So that's one example. A day later, let's say that Karen is targeted with more content around learning. Let's say this time it's actually internal learning content on a parental assistance benefit that was rolled out while she was away. Because this one is internal, let's say it actually exists as a ServiceNow knowledge article. And again, she's able to access it in that same convenient location in her to-dos area, again, in either her employee service center portal or the Now mobile app. So this is a pretty simple example. There would likely be a lot more going on within this lifecycle event end to end. But again, this is just a scenario that shows through where we have opportunity to bring learning into the lifecycle event process. The other thing that we'll do when we get to the live configuration and demo portion of today's call, we'll pick up this example. Gokern will actually walk us through what some of this would look like for Karen as she's navigating and kind of opening up the learning and going into potentially a third-party learning management system. Now what I want to do before we pivot and go into the live instance to look at some of this is I want to walk through some of the core capabilities of learning posts in slide format. So first on the list is the ability to assign learning tasks. So we've talked about this a couple of times, but I wanted to specifically show screenshots. So on the left, we see a screenshot of what this would look like in our Employee Service Center portal. As we can see, this is a learning to-do that's been assigned. The interesting thing that I'll point out here is that this learning content actually exists in Pluralsight. So Karen can still see the description, she can see the due date, she can see the title of the course, but she also sees that button. And what that does is it actually opens up the course for her in Pluralsight directly. And the other nice thing to point out about this is that Karen completes it in Pluralsight, but with our integration, that completion would come back into ServiceNow and her learning to do would actually be closed out for her. And then on the other side of the slide, you see what this looks like from the Now mobile app. So a very similar experience where Karen is able to click into that learning and easily access it. The other thing I want to point out about learning tasks is that you can assign them as part of a lifecycle event or as a standalone learning task. So if you look at the left of the slide, this is a screenshot of what this looks like within a lifecycle event. It shows the configuration for that. So you can actually see we have a new employee activity type of learning task. So that's what, again, that configuration looks like if you're embedding it into a lifecycle event. And then on the right side of the slide, we see what the configuration looks like for a standalone learning task. So you can see there are a couple of fields that you would be prompted to fill out, such as who the learning task is assigned to, the course, etc. And again, we'll see this live in a couple of moments when Gokern walks us through it. Next, again, the ability to integrate with a learning management system. So here on the screen, you can see the learning system configurations that exist for our delivered out-of-the-box integrations with, again, Pluralsight, Udemy, and Cornerstone. So again, what I'll mention here is that if you do use another learning management system that's not on the slide, you also have the ability to use our integrations framework to add that as well. Next on the list, again, the ability to create internal learning content. So again, this is the configuration for that. And as I was referring to earlier, there are a couple of sources that you can define for internal learning content. So maybe that content exists as a ServiceNow knowledge article, maybe it exists as a URL out to Vimeo or YouTube, or maybe it's free form and there is just the need to have a text box to create that internal learning content. This is what that configuration process looks like. You also have the ability to create a learning catalog. So the purpose here is to combine learning with a similar purpose into one cohesive catalog. And you also have the ability to restrict access at the learning catalog level. And last but not least, we have the learning homepage and learning experience dashboard. So the learning homepage is on the left side of the slide. This shows a summary of your learning catalogs as well as your learning sources. And on the right side of the slide, we have the learning experience dashboard. So a couple of different things are covered here. We have a summary of your learning repository, your catalogs, as well as the task status for any of those learning tasks that have been assigned to your employees. So now what we want to do is we want to continue to bring this to life. So now we're going to go into an instance. I'm going to pass it over to Gokern, and he is going to walk us through what some of this looks like, as well as the configuration.
Thank you, Alishan. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening to all. So let me share my screen and let me know if it's visible. Okay.
Yep, we can see your slide.
Okay. So let me go through the new learning app which ServiceNow has recently delivered and which can be used to provide the learning, the right set of learning at the right point of time. Okay. So as part of this demo, we'll cover this in two segments. First, we'll go through the employee persona and we'll see how this application can be used to provide the learning in the flow of work, and how this will be a unified learning experience for the employee, where employee need not to go to the multiple system looking for the courses. Instead of that, everything will be there in the ServiceNow, and employee can take a course on the ServiceNow and will complete it here itself. Then we'll see how the application provides a proactive learning, where employee need not to again go and looking for the relevant courses, but the application itself will push the relevant learning at the time of need. Okay. So that is the first thing that we'll cover. After that, we'll move to the second segment and we'll see how the admin persona can use this learning application and integrate with the different LMS systems. Also, how the admin persona can create a new internal content, and how this learning application can be integrated or clubbed with the lifecycle events, so that whenever lifecycle events gets triggered, the learning will be pushed to the employee. Okay. So let me take the same example which Karen just showed in the presentation. Let's assume like Karen is returning back to work after a long maternity leave, right? Just try to put yourself in the Karen's shoes. How would you feel if you are away for a long time, right? Because there might have been a lot of change that is going on within the organizations, right? There can be a new benefit policies that has been added, okay? Or there can be a new skill sets which the team has recently started using and you are not aware of that. Or there can be a new travel guidance the company has recently launched. So all these changes can provide a problem or can cause some problem to the employees when they are planning to return after a long time. And this is what the application provides a solution to. So this application provides a right set of learning at the right time of need, and which removes or which provides skills to the user which they require at that point of time. So let me quickly jump to the instance and show how this can be achieved. So just suppose Karen got an email where she has been asked to provide the expected date of return. Okay, so to provide that detail, Karen logs into her portal view, opens the catalog. So for demo purpose, we have created a return to FMLA catalog. This is just for the demo. It will not be available out of box. So what this catalog does, it asks Karen to provide the expected date of return. So let's assume Karen decide that she will be back on 5th of August. Okay, Karen selects the date, click on OK, and Karen submits the catalog item. So as soon as Karen will submit, this a lifecycle event will be triggered in the background, which will start pushing the courses to the Karen at the pre-configured time. For the demo purpose, I have pushed everything at the time of creation of or submission of the catalog. But if you see here, there can be some course which will be pushed on the joining date. There will be some course which will pushed in the first week, and there will be some course which will push in the second week. Okay. The Karen can see these assignment in her to-dos also. So if Karen click on the to-do, Karen will see there are 5 courses that have been assigned to the Karen, where she can go ahead and take a look in those. Okay. So let's go through this one by one. The first one, project status, which is due in 10 days. So if Karen will click on this link, this will open a SharePoint document where Karen can go ahead and take a look about what all the projects the team is working on, or what was the feature that was delivered in the last sprint. So basically, she can go ahead and take a look on the latest update on the project. Okay, and once that is done, Karen can come here and mark this as complete. Once this is completed, this course will be moved to the completed tab. Similarly, let's assume like the team has recently started using the agile methodology to deliver the project, and Karen was not aware of this. Okay, so the course can be curated to the Karen, where she can go ahead and get a learning on the agile. Okay, this course can be curated from different systems. Here it is coming from the Udemy system. So if you'll see here, the ServiceNow have also pulled the title and the description, where the Karen can go through the description and will have an idea of what exactly she's going to learn as part of this course. Okay, if the Karen will click on the open course, the course will open in the Udemy, and where the Karen can enroll the course and complete the course. Once the course will be completed in the Udemy, the status will be flown back to the ServiceNow, and the ServiceNow course will also be marked as completed. So Karen need not to come back to the ServiceNow to complete this course. It will be completed automatically. Similarly, there can be course which can be created from plural site system also. So like, let's take it's the COVID situation is going on, right? So there can be course which can be curated on how to stay healthy during COVID. Okay. This course is coming from the plural site. Again, the Karen can go ahead and take this course in the plural site. And once the Karen will finish this course, the status will again flown back to the ServiceNow, and it will marked as the completed in ServiceNow. Similarly, there can be course from the Cornerstone system, where Karen can get acquainted with the optimizing work-life balance concepts. Okay, when the Karen will click this on the Cornerstone side, Karen will get an option to launch the course and take the course in the Cornerstone itself. And similarly over here, the status will be synced with the ServiceNow, and it will marked as a completed whenever the Karen completes the course in the Cornerstone. Okay. Admin can also decide to provide or learning based on the KB article. KB article basically it's a ServiceNow internal learning repo. So Karen can be pushed with a learning on what are the new parental assistant policy that the organization have. Okay. Karen can go through this policy and can get a benefit out of this. So if you see, it's more of combined learning, or where the Karen need not to go to multiple places to look into the courses, but the admin or the application can get the best among all the available system that is there. Okay? And assign a best course to the Karen, and Karen can get all those courses in the ServiceNow and complete the course from the ServiceNow itself. So it's more of a proactive experience, where the application itself is pushing the right set of learning to the Karen at the time of need, and the Karen is not looking for these courses at multiple places. So this is how the Karen experience will look like. Now let's move to the second segment and see how the admin can do the configuration to enable Karen having this experience. Okay, So let me log in as a learner admin. So first thing, whenever the customer will have a learning post application, what exactly they will have? So they will have a ServiceNow instance with the learning post installed in it, and also they will have some element systems which they might have been using internally, right? They will have internal course repo also. So first thing first, the learner admin or the admin will have to integrate these two systems, like because the LMS system is not yet integrated with the ServiceNow application. So to do so, there are two different roles that is required. One is the connection admin role, one is the credential admin. These two are the sensitive roles, and it's up to the system admin to decide who all will have these roles. So out of box, learner admin will not have these roles. For the demo, I have just provided those roles to the learner admin. So let me just show how this connection and credentials can be created. So first, the admin will have to create a credential. So credential will be the set of standards that each external system follow to connect with a different third-party system, right? So for each different systems, there can be different type of credentials which they are using, and this is already documented. Like Cornerstone use OAuth credentials, the Udemy and the Pluralsight use API key credentials. So based on the credential that external system is using, we'll have to select the credentials and we'll have to provide the name and the API key. Let me just open the existing one. We already have created a record for that. So for the Pluralsight, if we'll see, the credential is the name whatever the admin want to give, and the API key is the key which will be required to connect the ServiceNow application with the Pluralsight application. So once the credential is done, the admin will have to go and create a connection. Okay. So if you click on new, we'll have to create a HTTPS connection. In the connection, admin will have to provide the credential which they have created recently. In the connection alias, the application ships 3 connection alias out of box, one for each system. So for the Cornerstone, this is the alias that needs to be used. For the Pluralsight, this is the one that needs to be used. And for the Udemy, the third one is the one, or the fourth one is the which needs to be used. Okay. And also the connection URL is the URL which the ServiceNow application will link to. Okay. So let me open the existing record to show how exactly it will look like. So for the Pluralsight itself, you will see the name can be anything provided by the admin. The credential is the credential that was created. The connection alias is the Pluralsight, and this is the connection URL which the ServiceNow application will link to. Okay. So once the connection and credential is done, now these two applications are now connected, okay, and they can start sharing the information with each other. They can start talking to each other. Right? Now, once this is done, the learner admin will have to go and enable the learning system configuration. So the application has provided 3 learning system configuration out of box, and all 3 will be inactivated by default. Okay. So if the organization is using any of these systems, they will have to go and activate these records. Once this record is activated, there is a scheduled job which runs in the background and which will start syncing the different entities from the external system. Now the next question can be what all entity will be synced. Okay. So to answer that, if we'll open the learning source, you can find there are 2 entities that has been listed over here. So one is course, one is course progress. Okay. The course is basically all the course metadata that is available in the Pluralsight. All those will be synced back to the ServiceNow, and the course progress is the course assignment status. So course assignment status, I mean, whenever we saw just now, right? Karen completed a course in the Pluralsight or Cornerstone, and the status will be flown back to the ServiceNow, right? That was made possible by syncing this entity. The application also provides, so as mentioned, there's a scheduled job which will run on a daily basis, right? But if the admin also want to trigger the job on a demand, this application provides a UI action run job. The admin can come here and click on the run job, and the job syncing process will start immediately. So also, if admin can determine what all entity will be synced. So if the admin decide like they don't want to sync the course progress, they can come here and activate this entity, and this will no longer be synced. So next thing is, if we'll take this job, the syncing mechanism, the first sync will take some time because it will sync all the courses that is available in the external system, but the onward sync will be faster, and it will sync only the newly created courses or the courses which has been updated. Those only will be synced back to the ServiceNow. So now once this learning system configuration has been activated, the similar exercise will have to be performed for other learning system configuration which the organization want to use. Okay. Next thing is, what if the organization don't have any of these three learning systems? Okay. So the application provides a framework which can be used to integrate with any other learning systems with a minimal configuration. So we'll not go in details for that, but yes, we have that ability to integrate with the different LMS systems also. So now let's say all the learning systems has been activated now. Okay. So as mentioned, there will be scheduled job which will start syncing the courses back to the ServiceNow. So where those courses will reside. So there is a module called external content. So whenever the scheduled job will run, it will start syncing the course from the external system to this module. So since as I mentioned, the first job takes some time, I already have synced this. So if we'll see, there are courses from the Plural side, there are courses from the Cornerstone. Similarly, there are courses from the Udemy also, which will be there in the next pages. And all the course metadata will reside in the ServiceNow after the syncing mechanism has been done. So that is what for the external content. This is the process that we'll have to do for the external content. But if you see, these days, employees don't want to rely on the external content, right? There are multiple forums available where or multiple articles available online which is open source, and employee can go ahead and take a look into that. Okay, there are YouTube videos available, there are Vimeo videos available. Similarly, there can be a SharePoint link which can provide a great learning to the employee. Okay. So application provides a way to include those as well as the learning content. So for that, there is a module called internal content. The learner admin will have to go to the internal content where they can create a new internal content. So application provides three way. The first is knowledge article, second is URL, and third is free form. So in the knowledge article, if the admin want to create a learning content based on the knowledge article, they'll have to select the existing knowledge articles in the system. So let's take example of ESPP, employee stock purchase program. So this is what they'll have to select. If they want to create a knowledge article based on URL, there are three options available. They can provide either a YouTube video link or Vimeo video link or any other SharePoint or any other article links available on the web. Similarly, there can be a free form. So if the admin decide like they want to write the content all together, so they can go ahead and create their internal content with the free form, and they can write the content in the content box. Okay. So for now, let's create a knowledge article on the KB article. Sorry, let's create an internal content on the KB article. Once the learner admin will submit this record, this content item will, internal content will become part of the whole learning repo that ServiceNow have. So now we have seen how the external content will be generated and how the admin can create the internal content. Okay. But till now, if you'll see, the ServiceNow have both repos for internal and external content, but similar courses had not been clubbed yet, which will be essential, right? So for that, the application provides a learning catalog module, which can be used to club all the relevant courses at one place or all the similar courses at one place. So let me just go ahead and create a learning catalog and show how this will work. So let's assume like the learner admin want to club all the courses on the artificial intelligence at one place. Okay. So they can provide the title name of the catalog, description, manage access restrict to govern who all can manage this catalog. So by managing this catalog, I mean who all can add the content to this catalog. Okay, so that can also be governed by the manage access restrict to. So for now, let's assume like all the users which satisfy the managers criteria can manage this learning catalog. Okay. So once this is saved, the catalog is created, and now the courses can be added to this catalog by the users which satisfy the manager learning criteria. Okay. So let me just add some courses to this. So the admin will have to click on the add. This will list down all the courses available in the system. Okay, this will be part of internal content and external content. So admin can search for this and select the courses that they want to include in this catalog. Okay, so let's select the courses. Click on add selected. So once this is selected, the courses will part of this catalog. The admin can also configure like who all can access these courses. Okay, access these courses means who can all go ahead and take the course. So for that, there is a module, there's a related list called applicable user, where admin can go ahead and click on edit and select any user criteria which should access this one. So for now, let's add any user. Okay. Once this is submitted, the catalog will be ready to use, and the courses of this catalog can be used by all the users in the ServiceNow system. Okay. So this is how the learning system, the learning application configuration will happen. Okay, now we have internal content, we have external content, and we have also clubbed the similar learning together. Now let's see how this learning can be integrated with the lifecycle enterprise application. Okay, so that the right set of learning can be delivered whenever the lifecycle event gets triggered. So for that, the first thing that admin will have to do is to create a template. Okay, so this is the HR template, which is similar to what we have for the HR task or HR case. So HR task and HR case template is being used to create a task or case on the fly. So similarly for the learning task, the admin will have to create HR template. Let's create one. So let's create so what all admin needs to provide the template, right? So the admin can provide the details like who all or what is the catalog item that this task will have, or what is the course that will be assigned to the user, or what should be the status of the task, similarly to whom that task should be assigned, or what should be the due date of that task. So all those configuration can be done on the template side. Okay. So the table will be learning task table. Let me quickly populate those fields. The catalog will be, so the catalog which we just have created. The course will be artificial intelligence. The status of, we want the state of the learning task to be assigned. The short description assigned via lifecycle. We can also configure to whom this task will be assigned. Okay, so whenever a lifecycle event gets triggered, it creates a case. Let's assume the learning task needs to be assigned to the subject person of the case. Okay, So that can be configured here. And also if the admin wants to provide a due date within 10 days of the case creation, they can come here and provide the due date over here. Okay. So once all these details are provided and admin submits this template record, the template is ready to be used in the lifecycle events now. So now let's go to the lifecycle events and see how this template can be consumed. So for that, we'll need a lifecycle enterprise admin role. For the demo purpose, I've included that role also in the learner admin. So let me quickly open that. For the demo, I have created few lifecycle events, and where the learning will be very crucial and where learning will be relevant. So if you'll see in case of promotion, there can be a learning where employee can go through the new roles and responsibilities, the article which provides a guidance on the new roles and responsibilities that they will have to fulfill. Right? In case of offboarding, there can be a learning which can be pushed to the employee where they can go ahead and learn how to manage the assets or how they can return the assets and how the full and final settlement will happen. Similarly, in case of return to FMLA, there can be course curated to the employee where they can go ahead and take the new parental policy that the organization have, or since they are coming after a long time, they can go ahead and take the course on the new skills the team has recently started using. Similarly, in case of new hire onboarding, there can be a course on the company coding standard which can be pushed to the employee. In case of transfer, there can be course on the new travel policy which the employee will have to follow in case of transfers. So all those courses can be pushed to the employees via this lifecycle events. So let me go through the return to FMLA lifecycle event and show how this can be done. So if you see, I already have created 3 activity sets and also have added few activities in this activity sets. So whenever these activity sets will be triggered, the employee will be popped up with the relevant learning courses. Okay. So if you'll see in the joining date, there will be a request created for the stand-up desk, right? There will be a course that will push to the employee where they can go ahead and take a course on the parental assistant. Similarly, in the first week, there can be course which can be pushed to the employee where they can go ahead and take a course on the how to fight the COVID. Okay, there can be a course where they can learn on maintaining the work-life balance. Similarly, in the second week, there can be a course pushed to the employee where they can go ahead and learn the agile methodology. Similarly, they can also go ahead and take the look into the latest project status, which is there. So all those can be achieved over here. Okay, so now let me show how the activity can be added. Okay, so for that, the employee or the admin can go ahead and click on the add activity. In the title, so let's take this as artificial intelligence activity. The activity type will be employee. The employee activity type will be a learning task activity, which is the new employee activity has been shipped along with the application, and the HR template will be the template that we have created just now. Okay. The owning group will be the group which we want this activity to be part of. And once the admin will click on the submit, the activity will be ready to use in the lifecycle events. And whenever a lifecycle event will be triggered, the activity will be, or this course will be pushed to the employee so that they can go ahead and take this course and get the concepts out of that. So this is the automated way of pushing the learning at the right point of time. Okay. There can be manual way also. So let's take example of the learning manager. Let's assume like the learning manager is going through the course available in the systems and suddenly they found like there are some courses which will be very relevant to the some of the employees. Okay, so the learner manager can create a learning task manually and assign that course to any user. So let me show how that can be done. So you'll have to go to the learning task, click on the learning task, and then whatever user they want to assign, they'll have to select the user and the catalog. So for now, let's assume that we'll have to take a JavaScript learning catalog. And the course item, basically, this will list down all the courses that belongs to the particular catalog. So for now, let's assign a JavaScript for beginner course. The learning manager can also decide the due date of the course. So let's say the due date they want to set is 30th of July, and short description. When the admin will click, or when the learner manager will click on the assign, a course will be assigned to the Abel, and Abel can see the course in his portal view. So let me just log in as a Abel. If you see as a Abel, Abel can see a to-do that has been pushed to him, where he can go ahead and take a course on the JavaScript, which is a YouTube course, and the Abel can take this course in the portal itself. Once this is done, Abel can mark this course as a completed, and the course will be completed, move to the completed tab. Now, last but not least, the application also provides a learning experience dashboard for the employee, for the admin, where admin can go ahead and take a look on the whole learning module. Okay, the learner admin can go ahead and take a look on how many courses are there coming from the different LMS systems, or how many courses are being utilized in the catalog, or how many tasks that has been created, how many of them are in the signed state, how many of them are in completed state, right? And based on that, they can take the decisions. So this is how the whole experience will be while using this learning post application. And this is how this application provides a way to ship the learning, or to provide the learning in the flow of work. So that's all from my side. Over to you, Alishan.
Great. Thank you, Gokern, for the walkthrough and for bringing that to life. Now what we'll do is we will recap with some questions that we have gotten from our audience members. So let me get my slides shared back here. So we did get a couple of questions throughout the session. One of those questions was around whether employees can actually browse or search for courses today in the Employee Service Center. So the answer here is that under Safe Harbor, this is actually part of our roadmap. This is something that we are working on for our next release of Learning Post, which will be available just a little bit later this year. One of the other questions that we got from an audience member was around the third-party LMSs and if we need individual integrations for all of those, or how those work. So this was submitted before Gokern walked us through the learning system configurations and how that works. So I think we are set on that question. And lastly, the other question that we received throughout the presentation was whether quizzes could be incorporated into the internal learning content. And the answer here is that today you, of course, have the ability to create internal learning content in the form of a knowledge article, a URL, or free-form text. So quizzing or ServiceNow surveys aren't included in that today, but that's definitely something that we can look at. So those are the questions that we have received so far. It looks like we also just got another question a moment ago. So that question is, what is the advantage of using an internal learning task of type URL YouTube versus the previous existing capability of doing a video task? So Swastik, I'll have you take that one.
I think video task is like just falls into that completely, the internal learning task completely falls into the paradigm of complete learning space. So I think there is a video task is like a completely different type of another task activity, whereas internal learning task plus external learning task exactly falls within the learning paradigm. So that we are trying to solve that. If you're talking about learning, it has a combination of both external as well as the internal learning task. So that is why we want to more streamline it as a more of a per se that all the internal as well as external will be put in under one single category. So that is what the objective is when we are trying to say that how it is kind of different from a video task. It's much more on a streamlining process. That is what I would say as a clear differentiation which is there between the video task and the internal learning content.
Great. Yep. Thanks for answering that. So just to recap, there's definitely benefit of that existing as a learning task. So it's part of the learning, post application. I would also say that is what enables it to appear in some of those dashboards that we were looking at as well in terms of task completion status. All right. So now what we'll do, we have a couple of frequently asked questions that we thought we would talk through in addition to what has come in from the audience. So one of those questions that we wanted to just recap, because it is a frequent question, is what family release do I need to be on to use Learning Posts? That one's an easy one. So that is Quebec. We talked about that earlier, but that is just a frequent one that pops up. The next question that we want to discuss, and Swastik, I'll have you talk through this, is how is this different than maybe a learning management system or even a learning experience platform that exists today?
Thank you, Alison, for this question. I think the core difference, what I would try to say is that learning management system is kind of a system of record, and we don't want to tamper with that. The existing customers, they have their LMS system of records going over for a period of years now. What we are basically trying to create is basically an aggregation or an experience layer, which makes ServiceNow portal as a single centralized portal for an employee journey. So for example, if an employee wants to come to service portal, he can access learning, he can access survey, he can access journey tasks. So that is what we are trying to create. So I would say it is more of an experience layer which we are trying to create. And this would be more or less similar to the experience platform, learning experience platform. So definitely what we are trying to create is like, first, that provide one single content repository. I think many of the enterprises have different LMSs. What we are trying to say do is like provide one single content repository. Second, what we own are the workflows. So I mean the LMS or the experience platform, they don't have that specific capability of learning provided in the workflows, learning in the flow of work. Since we own the workflows, it is very easier for us to provide that learning in the flow of work. And that is where we kind of a differentiation, which we feel that, which will be definitely useful for an employee when learning is provided in a flow of work, because we are able to integrate learning with different workflows.
Great.
Alison, that's it from my end.
Thank you, Swastik. So yes, we're making things easier for the employee and embedding that directly within their experience or workflow that's happening in ServiceNow and integrating with those types of systems. So thank you for the answer there. The next answer that we wanted to kind of recap, I know we've talked about this a couple of times, but Swastik, can you talk for a moment about our existing learning management system integrations and if customers can integrate with other LMS systems as well?
So I'll take this question. So currently in version 1, what we have done is like we have integrated with Cornerstone, Udemy, and Pluralsight. And as sure, I mean, customers can definitely integrate with another LMS, because we have a robust integration framework where customers can, with just few clicks, few configuration, they will be able to add the LMSs. So definitely we have given the capability that either you can use out of box if you're using the existing LMS, or definitely you can add another LMS which you feel that definitely adds, which is being used in your organization. So we have given the capability for both.
Great,
Thank
you,
you, Alison.
Great. And the next thing that would be helpful for the audience is just to talk about what additional learning management systems we have kind of planned as part of our roadmap. And for this, I am going to go back to our safe harbor statement. We had the slide in here previously, but again, this is unreleased roadmap, but we do have some of this in the pipeline. I'd like Swastik to talk about it for just a moment.
Okay, absolutely. So as I said, in version 1, it's Cornerstone, Udemy, and Pluralsight. In September, that's a V2 release. We are going to go with SumTotal. And in November, we are going to integrate with Saba. And then we are going to integrate with Workday Learning as well as SuccessFactors. So if you see in an enterprise market, these are the 6 or the 7 LMSs which are being used primarily with our customers. And that is what we are trying to provide. We are trying to do out of box integration with this 6 or 7 popular LMSs. I will repeat it again. In V1, what we have done, version 1, which was released in May, it's Cornerstone, Udemy, and Pluralsight. In September, we are going to integrate with SumTotal. In November, we are going to integrate with Saba, and in our Saba, which is part of Cornerstone. And the next integration in our roadmap is Workday Learning and SuccessFactors. We feel that because of this integrations, I think this covers majorly enterprise customer which use these LMS. And also apart from that, we have the integration framework where you can add the other LMS apart from these 6 or 7. Okay, that's it, Alison, from my end.
Great. Thank you for the summary of what is coming for our LMS integrations. At this point, it looks like we are caught up with the Q&A from the audience. So I'll give the audience another 30 to 60 seconds to submit any last questions. But in the meantime, the last thing that I wanted to bring up to the group is if you are interested in adopting our Learning Post app, or if you're interested in becoming a design partner, please let us know. We're very eager to partner with our customers on this new app that, again, was just released in May. So if you have interest, please reach out to your account team at ServiceNow or comment on our community event, and we would love to talk with you one-on-one more about your plans for adoption, or if you have suggestions for us to consider as part of our roadmap. So with that, I am just taking another scan on our Q&A, and it doesn't look like anything additional has come up. So with that, this was a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining this month's Academy.